And Evan and colleagues, please take it away. Let me just mention before you do that after your presentation, we will have a Q&A period for all of our presenters thus far. Okay.
Right. Thanks, Don. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Evan Small. I teach in the School of Education here at Elon University.
Hi, I'm my leg Shadreck. I go by Tumi, and I'm a counselor and outreach coordinator at Elon University.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Harer, she, her pronouns. I work in the Office of Sustainability doing the education and outreach.
If we could go to the next slide.
So we're just going to walk you through kind of our plan for today. We're really going to start with Eben, who brought this to campus. So he's going to talk a little about the development and the expansion of NatureRx into what it is today with the institutional support that we do have. We'll talk about the partnerships that we've created throughout our 4 years, a relatively young program that we have, and then get into an example of one of our most successful programs. So take it away, Evan, if you want to go to the next slide, please.
Awesome. Yeah, we've heard lots of really awesome examples and folks doing phenomenal, incredible work at their institutions. So we're going to share a little bit of our journey. And like Kelly mentioned, NatureRx is a little bit younger at Elon. So we've been formally doing this for about 3.5 years. So really give you a little bit of background. Currently, I'm a faculty member. I teach primarily in our outdoor education program. But when this started at Elon, I was directing our co-curricular outdoor adventure education program called ALOA. You see that acronym on the screen. So I was running outdoor education programming for students and faculty and staff, and recognizing all of the tremendous opportunities that the natural world can provide to folks. Started to develop a partnership with Kelly and the Office of Sustainability and thinking about how can we deepen this work? How can we encourage folks to think more deeply and more critically about their time in the natural world? And sort of stumbled my way into learning about NatureRx. Kelly and I had a series of conversations several years ago to say, what could this look like on campus? Recognizing that, especially now, but even 3 or 4 years ago, our college students were struggling with increasing rates of mental health and struggling to sort of just cope in a day-to-day life on campus. And so recognizing this is an opportunity for our students to take advantage of, again, those benefits that that NatureRx and the natural world can provide to folks. Back in the day, a couple years ago, it was really a pretty informal process for us. I was doing a lot of programming through my role. Kelly was doing some programming through her role. We said, okay, these things are already happening. Where can we just sort of layer on a bit of a lens of mental health conversations? It was not very intentional. It was not very structured or formalized or systematic. It was really, this is, we're doing a hike anyway. Let's maybe talk about mental health while we're on the hike. And that has segued into the last couple of years of really a formal, structured process where we've involved other partners across campus, which you'll hear in a minute, and thinking about how do we make this a much more, again, intentional and structured process for our students, both in and out of the classroom. So again, recognizing where we've come, right, relatively young, but then some really cool work that we've been doing in the last couple of years. So next slide, we can think about some of those deeper partnerships. So again, our initial conversations, relatively unstructured, relatively informal. How could this just happen given what we're already doing? Over the years, Kelly and I have started to have more conversations about, hey, let's start to maybe again more formalize this. Our first item there on that slide, I think, has been one of our most exciting pieces, is putting those feelers out across campus. Who are the other folks who can be champions and advocates for us in this work? Some of those have been faculty, some of those have been students. We've had a lot of phenomenal students, and then certainly lots of other staff members across campus who are involved. Elon, like I'm sure many of your institutions, is a busy and over-programmed place at times. And so sometimes it's seeing what is currently happening and how can we intentionally maybe tweak or modify or just layer on a mental health component for folks. And so recognizing things like academic classes that are in some way connected to this. We end up doing a lot of guest lectures and guest visitings around a whole variety of classes and helping sort of, again, just connect with students and faculty and staff to recognize these things. 2 specific items that we've found to be successful. Our student life department, which runs a lot of our sort of co-curricular side of the university, gave us a grant a few years ago. We recognized that faculty wanted to take their classes outside, but didn't know how to do that and didn't have the resources they needed for that. And so our student life department funded an outdoor classroom set of folding chairs. We have lap-sized whiteboards and a speaker, so a headset speaker for faculty to wear, trying to reduce barriers to entry for folks to say, we know that the outdoors is beneficial for you. Even having your class outdoors still gives your students some of these benefits and some of these experiences. But students don't want to sit on the ground, because sometimes the grass is wet or it's uncomfortable. And so providing these resources for folks, faculty can check these out as a free resource. And it's been a pretty cool opportunity to see, walking on campus and just seeing classes sitting outside under the trees. As you see, the pictures behind our slides are Elon's campus. So we are lucky in that we have a botanical garden on our campus, and it's a beautiful space for folks to be. So again, trying to provide them some resources for it. And then we've also worked with our library to do a series of opportunities to just build sort of literally a library and a resource kit for students, faculty, and staff to be able to check out and see, here's some books, here's some resources. We have, little mindfulness cards or children's books, all kinds of things to be able to just, again, help folks understand that it's not the Tumi, Evan, and Kelly show, or why you should go outside and do things, but like there's a lot of additional resources and additional benefits to these. And then HRX has evolved at this point to a monthly series of events that we run throughout the school year. And so some of those we'll talk about in a minute. We have a really exciting signature event we'll highlight towards the end. But students are recognizing the value of it, and faculty and staff are seeing ways that they can connect in their existing programming into what we're already doing, which is pretty cool. So to jump a little bit further into some of those partnerships, start the next slide.
Awesome, thank you. So what you all are seeing right now are some of the partnerships that have been created over the past 3.5 years to deepen NatureRx at Elon. Like Evan said, we know there's a lot going on our university and many other universities. So not trying to create more programming, but deepen those relationships that we already have. I think a pivotal moment for us was our presentation that Evan and I did at the Division of Student Life Retreat a few years ago. This was a student life retreat for all staff in student life. Those staff obviously work very closely with students, and that was a great way for us to work with the people working with students to help them understand NatureRx and some of those benefits. They're doing a lot of programming that we were able to tap into once we got to know them and understand what they were already doing. That led to one of my favorite things we've done this past year, which was working with Residence Life. Evan and I were able to go to their student staff training, and we were able to take an hour out of their very intense Res Life training to talk about NatureRx and talking about getting outdoors for their own mental health and well-being, but also how they can pass that along to their residents. So again, just broadening as well as deepening the work that is able to be done in the residence halls as well. We've also partnered with academic classes. As the word gets around, we have faculty that will approach us to ask us to do a mental health walk or some other programming during their academic time, which has been really fruitful in getting those partnerships. We also have worked with our faculty and staff. So I manage an employee resource group for faculty and staff interested in sustainability. One of our most recent topics was NatureRx. Tumi and Evan led a really fun session that I heard from many people was one of our favorite sessions on getting outdoors, and particularly for faculty and staff, how to work that into their work day. So finding 10 to 20 minutes to get outdoors. And again, people really enjoyed that session. And I would say, I may be biased, but one of our most fruitful workshops, presentations that ended in a wonderful partnership was our presentation to Counseling Services, where we actually got to know Tumi. And they're doing some really wonderful things with NatureRx. So Tumi, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it's helpful to kind of talk about data around mental health for college campuses. And so one thing to note is that in a recent survey, I think it was 2023, about 76% of undergraduate students indicated that they were experiencing moderate to serious psychological distress. And so that is the majority of your campus in most instances, right? And from these, when they were surveyed further or assessed further, anxiety and depression were the highest areas of need for support. And so those are two easy ways that NatureRx can be beneficial for students. Not everyone wants to come to an appointment and have a one-on-one session for a lot of different reasons, whether it's just a stigma around mental health or just feeling uncomfortable with that process, not being familiar with it. There's a lot of different reasons why someone might not engage in that way. And so my role as outreach coordinator is to think about ways that we can get students connected with services, and also as a campus, how we can alleviate some mental health concerns. And so NatureRx was a really excellent way for us to be able to connect in that way. So on average, we have a little under 10% utilization in the counseling center for individual sessions. And so we develop different workshops and different groups that we can engage students differently. And NatureRx is actually our highest attended. It is very, very popular. It's an easy way for students to feel like they can comfortably come into a space, rather than if we had, say, like an anxiety workshop specifically, then they almost have to like name that. And sometimes that can be difficult. But if we say, you know, we're going to talk about nature and how it's beneficial to you, but we can slide in the conversation around anxiety or depression or how ADHD symptoms can be alleviated by spending time outside, then that works out really, really well for us. And part of being able to do that, the School of Education here allowed for wellness courses to be taught by different staff members on campus. And so I was able last spring to teach a health and wellness course. And so that the course that I taught was actually around NatureRx. And so we were able to do different things like go to a farm to visit with animals. We were able to do a ropes course and just kind of talk through and explore different ways that you can engage with nature that's not just go and sit outside or go for a walk, but just having very active and just imaginative ways. We also did an art class where we did different things related to art while being in nature or using nature to kind of create different artistic projects. And that was really, really exciting for students. And they gave a lot of feedback that that was one of their favorite courses as well, or our classes that we met. And so we are able to do a lot of those things. Kelly and I were able to teach for Elon Academy, which is for high school students who come to our campus. And so we did a NatureRx experience for them as well. And so they're able to select from a variety of courses. And so we had a full group and we're able to take them on like a walk in the community. And so it's been just really great to see how we're able to touch different populations. And then also giving consideration, and something that we've talked about a little bit is like, how do we engage students who hold marginalized identities and kind of have like a social justice component to what we're trying to do on this campus? And so it's been really exciting and meaningful work. And this is probably one of my favorite partnerships as well.
I think to highlight a really cool example, so if you go to the next slide, this is probably one of our signature events. So we started this last year, right? So I'm a residential faculty on campus. So I live in one of our neighborhoods on campus, and the neighborhood I live in has a ton of really awesome green space, including a lake, but then an earthen dam behind the lake. And so we're thinking about NatureRx, about all the opportunities folks have to get involved in this program, these opportunities. We thought, what a cool opportunity to sort of flip the script a little bit, right? You think about hiking on beautiful days, for us, it's a lovely fall day outside in North Carolina. But thinking about ways that folks could engage at night, right, in sort of non-traditional times. So as an example of partnerships, this is a connection between the three of us, the physics department, residence life, 2 different residential neighborhoods, our campus police department. Lots of folks are involved in this. And we do a semester event to focus on stargazing. And it's a really cool opportunity. Students absolutely love it. The physics department brings out their fancy schmancy telescopes, and they're able to point out, all of the constellations. I don't know those things, but all of the really cool things we're seeing in the sky. And then the three of us are able to talk with students around a counseling session or an NatureRx moment, right? We're just sort of processing how folks are feeling, just, laying on the ground in the dark one night. And it's a pretty cool experience. Students love it. It's probably one of, at least as for me in my neighborhood, one of our highest attended events. Mm-hmm. And then this past year, we started giving out telescopes for students. So a nice, cool, like incentive for them. And they're also super thrilled about coming and, eating cool space-themed food, but then also win a telescope afterwards, mm-hmm. Which is pretty cool.
Evan, Kelly, and Tumi, we just have a couple of minutes to wrap up.
Yep.
Other things to add about stargazing?
We also do a meditation in that space, and we talk a little bit about the discomfort that exists when we live in a society that promotes productivity. And so how can we slow down and be present and just stay for a moment before we go outside and experience feeling small in this big world? And yes, Megan, space-themed food. So Kelly actually runs our snackage.
Oh, thank you. Official snack woman. Starburst, Milky Way, right? All sorts of
moon pies.
Moon pies, very important. Galaxy-themed drinks with sparkles. That's a hit. I'll just say, it's been really fun to partner with a variety of people around campus, and you can really tie in a lot of things. I selfishly tie in light pollution, because I'm the Office of Sustainability, right? So talking about that. So I think we can wrap up because we are at 2, but this is a really wonderful event that ties in a lot of community partners, as Evan was saying.
Yeah. So yeah, the next slide is just a thank you slide, but thank you all for listening. We really appreciate the conversation and love the chat going on. And so yeah, we're happy to answer some questions if y'all have them in the next few minutes.